you said, why it is
Yeah.
happening. That's what your question
Right.
is. Why this operation was required? Basically, it was required to assuage the feelings of the countrymen. That is the first thing. Second is the what the country stands for. Now, if India stands against terrorism at every world forum, United Nations or wherever our head of the state has, the Operation Sindoor, I think, had to happen. There was no two ways about it. And the kind of resolve Prime Minister had shown post Uri and post Pulwama, a larger scale operation was always on the cards. It was just a matter of time what our Prime Minister and the services decided together. It had to happen, and therefore it was need of the hour.
So you yourself have seen war, and you have taken part in it. How do you see this particular operation and from the performance of armed forces, their actions? Namaskar. Welcome to another podcast. Today we are going to discuss in detail with Group Captain Vishwajit Kumar, who is a strategic advisor to ICPRD, on the topic of Operation Sindoor. So, welcome to you.
Thank you, Rajat.
Sir, in last few days, we have seen a lot of things happening, especially post Pahalgam attack, and we have had discussion. And there, you mentioned that there is an anger and a sense of revenge among Indian public, and that is what the sentiment which was communicated through Operation Sindoor. So, what do you think? Why do you think actually this particular operation was needed?
See, a very good question in the sense that whenever we have these kind of terrorist activities, where large number of people are so brutally killed, it hurts the sentiment of the entire nation.
Hmm.
It hurts the nation's conscience, and that too when it comes out in the news that it has been done in a manner by asking somebody's religion and those kind of things right in front of his wife. He's being point blank shot in front of
And
his kid,
wives and
point
kids were
blanks.
spared.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this is the, I mean, you can think the worst kind of brutality that world would have witnessed anywhere. And therefore, the reaction all over the country has to be very spontaneous, I would say, strong, because this is never expected. Yes, you kill somebody from, I mean, which are the ways and means which has happened, where the terrorists have indulged in various ways of violence. But the last one, which we saw in Pahalgam, I think is one of the most brutal, and therefore the reaction itself was extreme, and the people were really hurt. And therefore, Honorable Prime Minister, the kind of a statement he gave in Bihar was absolutely appropriate and as per the wishes of the country people.
Mhm.
And as you said, why it is
Yeah.
happening? That's what your question
Right.
is. Why this operation was required? Basically, it was required to assuage the feelings of the countrymen. That is the first thing. Second is what the country stands for. Now, if India stands against terrorism at every world forum, United Nations or wherever our head of the state has gone, the statement has been very clear that we have been one of the victims of the terrorism for many years because of the policies that Pakistan follows, and therefore India had to take a stand, and it has always taken a stand against terrorism, even when the Western countries and the Americans did not appreciate it much
True.
till the time they themselves faced it.
Yeah. Pre 9/11, at least we
Absolutely.
were one of the only countries who were talking
Absolutely.
about
So
terrorism.
we've been suffering for a long, long time.
Mm.
But post those incidents in US and Europe, now the acceptance world over is of India's stand. Therefore, the Indian Prime Minister's resolve to punish the not only the terrorists who were on site to do those kind of crime, but the perpetrators of this crime who are very much in Pakistan, their government's policy, their army, they're openly doing it. So they had to be punished. And therefore, The requirement of the Op Sindoor was very much as a policy statement that nothing more, and if these kind of acts to take place and has taken place now, the perpetrators had to be punished right within the country, that is Pakistan. And therefore the Operation Sindoor, I think, had to happen. There was no two ways about it. And the kind of resolve Prime Minister had shown post Uri and post Pulwama, a larger scale operation was always on the cards. It was just matter of time what our Prime Minister and the services decided together. It had to happen, and therefore it was need of the hour.
Okay. Sir, you yourself have seen war, and you have taken part in it. How do you see this particular operation and from the performance of armed forces, their actions and how they have acted, and what type of impact? Because we have had discussions about the precision, about the intensity of the strike, about the target not targeting civilian and nuclear facilities, right? So how do you assess that this particular operation?
Yeah, I can. I mean, you all have watched what the three services have been doing, and as for the directions of the Honorable Prime Minister and the Cabinet Committee on Security, the three services have really planned out the whole things very well. If you see the map of Pakistan, right from the top to bottom, Sindh, from northern areas to Sindh, all the important bases, including all the important or significant terrorist hideouts, the training establishments, nothing was left. So, considering how India had reacted post Uri and post Pulwama, when the strikes, surgical strikes were carried out, this time the magnitude had to be much bigger. And to that, I must commend the government of India under the guidance of Honorable Prime Minister. The clarity was very much there. The services had to plan it in a manner, in a much meticulous manner and pinpointed manner, where first the terrorist targets were to be obliterated,
Right.
which India did on the intervening night of 7th and 8th May. That was very nine targets that they hit.
Yeah.
It was beautifully done, very pinpoint with the precision weapons. It was hit so accurately. You must have seen in the visuals. A particular building which was to be targeted, the next building next to it is absolutely fine.
Right.
So that shows how precise and accurate the actions were by our armed forces. So that shows our professionalism, the caliber of the weapons that were used. So to that extent, it was very beautifully done. Now the all thereafter the second layer of targets which were hit post the escalation by Pakistan,
Right.
when our our air force took on the bases, their important air bases, right from north to south.
Yeah.
Again, you see the impact right in the middle of the runway. The pictures speak louder than words. I mean, there is absolutely not an iota of doubt when you see that the particular massive pond-like crater right in the middle of the runway.
Right.
So you know how accurately it has been made dysfunctional. So they're all important bases, whether it is Sargoda, Jakubabad, Rahimyar Khan, Noor Khan, where I mean, whichever bases you see, they were literally hit the way it should have been hit and made non-effective
Right.
for a long time to come. Similarly, the terrorist targets, as I told you, they were point blank hit, and in a manner where they were totally the casualties. The government of India has given a figure much more than 100.
Right.
So the targets were very nicely selected, and they were all major targets. This time, one thing was very clear, that even when Pakistan wanted to escalate, their our air defense system was so well intertwined that they just could not cause any kind of damage to our bases, frontline bases, or even residential areas. So most of their whatever things they were using for attacking, whether drones or UAVs or missiles, they're beautifully handled. They were all shut down, and even if they fell in an area where they were totally ineffective. So our air defense, in terms of handling their munitions which were coming to our bases, our area, they were beautifully shot down and
Missiles,
timely shot down.
drones.
Yes, and our action in their side was so pinpoint. Those things are there in the media
Right.
for the world to see how beautifully it has been done. So therefore, I would say that the entire army, navy, air force, they have gelled very well together. The blockade of the area of the coast of Karachi by
Karachi,
our
yeah.
Indian Navy,
Yeah.
the army, and of course, majorly the air force action
Mhm.
has been very well synchronized. Air defense, of course, army also becomes part of the air force air defense. So therefore, it has been beautifully synchronized. The results are there for the whole world to see, and I would say I'll commend all the three services for having carried out this operation. It was a very short and swift operation where I would say the outcome
Hmm.
has been tremendous. I mean, it is there for the world to see.
Right. So you commend this, and obviously we
Mm.
salute and commend armed forces for doing this. Definitely. But sir, why it was stopped? Because if you look at the ceasefire and especially how that has happened, the public reaction and including India's and Pakistan's reaction over it. So why do you think that has happened and in such a manner?
See, this question is very apt from the point of view of how a public reacts to it. See, when as a nation, when the whole country is glued to the TV and watching the action of the Indian Air Force and Army and Navy, they are all feeling great and
Hmm.
proud about it, and they wanting to motivate the force. And along with that, there is a feeling that this nuisance country, which has been at our back, troubling us for years together. So there was always a feeling that वो कहते हैं ना that if there is a boil, ripened boil, you don't have
Hmm.
to apply
Yeah.
balm to correct it. You
Right.
need to go for surgery.
Hmm.
सिमिलरली वो कहते हैं लात के देवता भूत
बात
बात से नहीं मानते, है ना? तो बेसिकली देश की जनता के जहन में ऐसी बात थी कि बहुत हो गया,
Right.
नथिंग मोर, इस बार कुछ इनको अच्छे से इसका इलाज करना है.
Hmm.
So with that kind of a mindset, which was there in the my people's mind,
Hmm.
they were all expecting that something more had to happen so that the Pakistan is punished in a nice and proper manner. And the government of India's also statement has come in the past that the only thing which is left is to take back our POK. So that was everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And because any rogue nation like Pakistan, when it troubles you for years together, you want to sort them out once and for all. So with that kind of a mentality which was throughout the country, people expected more. So to that extent, when this was stopped, uh, of course, initially people did feel, oh, ये क्या हो गया, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए था. But then, when things are behind the scene at the government level, at the services level, a lot of things within the country and internationally keeps happening around the clock. So the Honorable Prime Minister, the Cabinet Committee on Security and three service chiefs, they must have taken cognizance of what task we had to achieve and what are the pluses and minuses, and all those things must have been factored in before taking a call of calling it off for that. Now, the Honorable Prime Minister has very clearly said, we have not called off Operation Sindoor. We have only paused.
Paused it. Yeah.
So that's a very significant statement for our adversary to understand
Right.
that it has not been called off entirely. It has just been paused to see that they behave. And if they behave well, it's fine. If they don't, we are in that action mode. So therefore, the sentiment of the people, initial reaction is very well understandable, and I am sure the head of the country, Honorable Prime Minister, did understand that, and therefore his address to the nation yesterday at 8 p.m. and today's visit to Adhampur base is all to make the country
Specify
people
exactly, yes.
understand that yes, what government of India set out to achieve the target was very comprehensively achieved. By now, all those details coming out with the kind of airfields which were hit, targets which were hit, the loss to the terrorist forces. So there is a conservative figure of at least Air Force being retarded, almost 30 to 40% of Pakistan Air Force being retarded. And there are different figures, but even 30-40%, 30% figure of Air Force
a very big
is
number.
and just about few days of action.
Yeah.
So what task government of India set out to achieve? The primarily was to punish the terrorist network there, and then the support mechanism of the government of Pakistan. So I think that was to a large extent achieved, And considering the pros and cons, what government of India decided was an, I think, a very, very appropriate decision by pausing the operations. And but also remind you, military actions have been paused,
Hmm.
whereas other decisions, diplomatic and economic, they still hold good. Government of India has made it very clear, whether it is Indus Water
Indus Water.
Treaty and trade and other issues, they will hold.
Yeah.
There is no going back on them.
Mhm.
So I think it's a very balanced decision of the government of India to see and take further action as the things evolve.
Right.
So
So,
I think,
as you were mentioning the sentiment of the
yeah.
people, unfortunately, we have also seen how Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri
Mm,
was trolled for this, just providing this message. Even
mm,
his family was not spared.
mm.
That's it's definitely we should
Yeah, it's
feel
absolutely
disgusted
wrong.
about
It
this.
should absolutely wrong. It should never happen. And I, for one, personally, I totally condemn these kind of actions. The country people, whosoever is doing it,
Hmm.
they must understand कि our senior officials like foreign secretary, they are under tremendous pressure. He has to deliver. He's working day in day out, and if you demoralize him with this kind of negative trolling,
Right.
which is very unfortunate, and it's I would say it's condemnable. It should never happen.
Right. Sir, there is also some talks around ceasefire, which involves foreign intervention, especially the tweet of Donald Trump, which was done before on Truth Socials. He has shared it before even our press conference. And even, I think, day before yesterday,
Mm.
he mentioned the same thing again, that because of, I told them, both India and Pakistan, that we will stop trade, and that's why they stopped. So this feeling, like how Trump has behaved and USA has behaved, is condescending in some sort, that India, first of all, they didn't, means be it USA, be it Donald Trump, they didn't condemn, first of all, the Terror Act. They didn't talk about terrorism. They just took it as a scuffle, which is happening between India and Pakistan.
Mhm.
And then this sort of behavior, it raised eyebrows, it raised few questions. So, how do you, like, what is your opinion on these?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and you will agree with me that the government of India is very, very clear. Whether the for an MEH statement, post the pausing the operations, at no point government of India has given any credence to what has come out from USA, whether from their president's Twitter handle or their Secretary of State or Vice President. Indian government has not spoken a word about it. Therefore, it makes it very clear
Mhm.
that we have nothing to do with those statements. Yes, if you look at it in conventional terms, right, fitness of the things would have been that the any other foreign dignitary, even if it is U.S. president, should not have preempted declaration by the government of India
Right.
or Pakistan government. Basically, they were the two warring factions here.
Exactly.
So the statement should have come out from here. Uh, Ideally, it should not have come from any other president, even if it is U.S. president. But yes, if he spoke, he is known for making those kind of statements. So there's no point giving much credence to that. What government of India has said and what our honorable prime minister has said, that is, I think, pretty clear for the country to understand that we have no qualms about changing our standoff. No third party interference. It has to be between two countries, that is India and Pakistan. There is no scope for third party mediation
Hmm.
and no third venue also. And Honorable Prime Minister has very clearly made it that if there is any talk between India and Pakistan, it has to be on one and only, that is terror,
Hmm.
and second, on return of POK. He has been very emphatic in declaring these two things, and I think beyond that there remains no doubt. We need not worry what country and whosoever is saying whatever it is has got no meaning for us.
Right. So after all of this, what do you think should be the way forward for India, and how do you see the things unfolding? Because okay, Pakistan, fine, we have handled it very well. But there is China factor. There is 2.5 challenge for Indian forces,
Yeah.
especially the borders and all. How do you think we should tackle it? How do you think our vision should be? What's the way forward?
Yeah, Rajat, most, I would say, satisfying thing what I have seen after yesterday's Prime Minister's address to the nation. I mean, India was never so clear in its mind, in its policy proposition, that uh, with respect to Pakistan, there will be no discussion other than terrorism. That was point one. Two, return of POK. Never was it spoken so emphatically at the highest level of the government. Three, nuclear blackmail by Pakistan is just not acceptable. Now, these are the templates which Honorable Prime Minister has given yesterday. Is not only for the nation, but is even for the world to understand where India stands.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the most, I would say, a tectonic shift in India's foreign policy formulation.
Right.
And I think this leaves absolutely no doubt for the countrymen as well as the world leaders all over where India stands. And that's, I think, is a major change. And I think I always expected that this kind of line government of India should take it, and which has been taken by our Honorable Prime Minister. And I really commend him because this is the best that could have happened. Because this shows you from a position of strength. And, unless you are strong enough in your own planning, policies, programs, you will not be able to convey to the outside world, and more so rogue state like Pakistan. So therefore, this kind of policy formulation was extremely important, required for the day, and that has happened. That is one very good thing that has happened. Second, as a way forward, and I'm sure our government is seized of the matter, that these kind of irritants will happen. It's not that it may take a little more time. This kind of surgery which has happened will give it breathing time for maybe a few years or something. But a rogue state like Pakistan will come up to something nuisance. Therefore, pause of Operation Sindoor. It's not stopped.
End of it, yeah.
So the pause conveys you all the meaning. Therefore, when we have this kind of scenario, and not only Pakistan, you see the country, China, openly backing Pakistan with all kind of military and political and economic support. Then you see the trouble in Bangladesh. So we are surrounded by countries and where situations are very volatile, very unstable, unpredictable, unfriendly. And you look at it a little far off, Turkey, where we were the first respondent post the earthquake in
Earthquake,
Turkey. And that country shamelessly gave all kind of military support, even visited Pakistan and gave all kind of military, diplomatic, all kind of support. So we have to understand, and I'm sure government is seized of all this matter, that our planning has to be long term in terms of policy, which has been very clearly stated now. Now, to back that policy, there will be various measures, like in these kind of 96 hours of operation which India carried out. A lot of positives have come out in terms of our Make in India, which initiative which our Honorable Prime Minister has been doing for the last 10 years, that the Akash system, the BrahMos, all those the systems which has come out and come out with the full marks. So these programs will get a further fillip, that more focus on indigenization, so that our armed forces are better equipped, they are more sophisticated to meet the modern warfare requirements, which entails all three services, Army, Navy, Air Force. So I'm sure government is laying a roadmap towards strong defense forces. As I have said in the past also, it's your insurance where you pay a premium for the days to come. You may need it tomorrow, you may not need it for next few years, but you cannot let down your guard. It is your last pillar where you have to see that it remains strong. Therefore, Government of India is very committed. You will find active more number of private firms participate, collaborating with the PSUs, DRDO, in terms of producing the state of the art weaponry, not only for armed forces but also for export market. You know, the figure is almost 500 billion plus is the weapons export market. For a country of India's size and for its our own need, we desperately needed our arms industry to be high tech and taking care of all the three services. So we are moving in a very healthy manner. As for the figures that you must have seen, we have almost crossed a figure of 30,000 crore last financial year, which is a very, very positive growth considering our track record since independence. that we were branded as the number one arms importer in the world, which was not at all something to be proud of. So from that, now we are becoming an exporter and a major exporter. That shows that the government's resolve has been in the right direction, and our PSUs as well as the private sector is coming up in a big way, and they are taking the line that the government wanted, and that's the need of the hour. So that is one. Second, third, I would say all these are neighborhood with the foreign policy that states the kind of difference situation which is developing in our neighborhood, Bangladesh or Maldives or Pakistan or China. We have to be very watchful. We cannot let our guard down, and your defense forces will only be as strong as your economy is strong. So the economic activity, government has given a lot of push towards economic development. We have almost by year end we are about to become the fourth largest economy in the world, and we, as our prime minister has said, by 2030 we should be becoming the third largest economy in the world. So our economic activity has to keep growing so as to support all other requirements of the nation, including the armed forces. So the focus, the way forward has to be a very clear stated foreign policy of the country, which government is already stated. Defense forces has to be strengthened further. Our gathering mechanism have to be strengthened further, because they play an extremely important role. Unless you have a hard int available, your actions by the defense forces will not be that accurate.
Right.
So int agencies, whether it is tech int or human on all other aspects of int, has to be very realistic and correct, so that the actions can be taken. So the all these arms of the government has to be strengthened for times to come, so that all these kind of irritants, whenever they occur, we are in a position of strength.
Right.
We do not need to have only a relative superiority. No, we need to have a dictatorial superiority in terms of our capabilities, where we can dictate if some rogue element wants to disturb our peace, want to retard our economic development. They should be fearful of us. And that भय भिन प्रीत ना हुई, तो that kind of that रामायण का चौपाई जो आप सुन रहे हो आज कल से, जो हमारे डीजी एयर फोर्स ने बोला है, I think that's very relevant, and I think our country is seriously following that, and with that in mind, I think we are on the right path.
Right. So Bhai Bin Hoye Na Preeti is definitely a statement on which we can end this podcast. And thank you so much for discussing what exactly has happened, and also what should be done in some times to come, right? Thank you so much, sir, for this chat.
Our pleasure, Rajat. Thank you so much. And with this note, we hope that the country has a peaceful time ahead, and we keep growing economically, militarily in times to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching this. We'll meet again. Namaskar.